Good morning, everybody. This is Judith A. Culp. You're listening to Mad Love. Let's get into it. So yesterday I saw that Michael Irvin, his wife has been diagnosed with early onset dementia, and they're in their 50s. My dad got diagnosed when he was fairly young, too. He was like 59, 60, and I think for him it was definitely diet-based. He would eat anything, and he loved sugar. And I think my reaction to him being in his 50s, like 59 or 60, being diagnosed with that, I would have a different reaction than what I have when I had then. But I was so young. I was like in my 20s, and I just was stunned. And I had to take a trip with him because there was a family wedding. My stepmother couldn't go, and I took a trip with him to Ohio, and we were in Cleveland's airport, and it was massive. And I just remember the panic set in because he had to go to the bathroom, and he's a grown man, so I didn't even think about it. And I was like, oh, it's not my regular dad, it's old sick dad. So I found him. He really did make it to the bathroom, but that was a panic because that airport was huge and it was full of people. I think it's Hopkins. Man, that was scary. And that happened when I was about 27. We went to a couple of weddings. He drove me. I rode in the car with my stepmother for one wedding, and then I flew with him alone, and that was so scary. I think we had to go to Detroit for that wedding. And yeah, it's scary. And he was young when he got diagnosed. So I feel bad for Michael Irvin. Michael Irvin is very committed to having his wife stay at home. He believes in that. And he is of the means to be able to pay somebody 24 hours a day. But even he is complaining about the cost because it's expensive and no one's really ready. And I'm proud of him for saying something because it's almost like I feel like I'm out here by myself just screaming like, you guys, I don't care what the politicians are telling you. I don't care what anybody's saying that's going to happen. I don't care about AI. AI cannot come and take care of your loved one in your house. And that's going to happen more than anything else. You're going to have to find a way to care for someone, and you may have to keep them at home because no one wants to tell you how expensive these facilities are. That man's a millionaire. He works and has been on TV. He played football. I'm old enough to remember when Michael Irvin was a star football player. And I would like to thank Michael Irvin because he came to town when the Rams were still here. And my cousin Brett had gotten tickets to the game, and we got great seats. We were almost on the field. And Mr. Michael Irvin, before he let his hair start looking crazy, he stood in front of me, and I was like, wow. I think my favorite type of body on a man is an NFL wide receiver body. He was still very fit. Thank you for that, Mr. Irvin. But I'm sorry that's happening to his family, and he's got means. Can you imagine what it's going to do to your family? I can tell you it was very expensive on my family, and we couldn't afford 24-hour care, and I would have liked 24-hour help. But that's even more expensive than a facility, especially once they stop walking. And she's 10 years in, and this is normally like a 50-year journey. It sounds like she's about 10 years in. So it's about not 50, it's a 15-year journey. If I said 50, I'm dead ass wrong. It does feel like 50 though. I can't lie to you. I was thinking yesterday about some of the battle royales I was having with my mom for simple things like there's a point where they get afraid to go to the bathroom. Like they have to go to the bathroom. So you have to put those seat extenders and things on your toilets. And I mean, she would just stop in her tracks. I'd have to put my knee in pretty much behind her and push her into the bathroom and seat her on the toilet so she would go. She just was like, I'm not going in there. I don't know what that is. I don't recognize it. And I was like, Ma, if we take this off, you won't be able to, it's too low. It'll hurt your knees. We got this, just sit on it. And she did not want to sit on it. But I would always win that battle. And there were just times like, in the daytime, it's one thing. But when you're up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, the person has to go to the bathroom and they're acting weird about it, it's just, you lose your patience. You really do. And you have to give yourself some grace, because there's just no way that you're in the mood for that or prepared for that. They don't teach you none of this shit in school. You have to learn this. You have to adapt to this. And I'm so passionate about it. I'm a film major, so I documented a lot of this, and a lot of it I share because it is funny, but I want people to understand, like, that this is going to be a road, and everybody's going to get on it, and I don't know why no one's talking about it. So it's a unique space to be in. I did go ahead and write the Caregiver's Handbook. It's just a more concentrated version of the newsletter, and you get more of the information quicker and all in one place. You're going to want to save it all anyway, but maybe you're not saving all the newsletters, or maybe you just subscribe. But this handbook is a good start. I would recommend, it's a digital download. I would definitely recommend going ahead and grabbing it. I'll put a link in the show notes. It's $20. Buy it for yourself, buy it for a friend. This is happening. It's happening in everyone's family. You can be rich, you can be poor, you can be black, you can be white. The majority of Alzheimer's patients tend to be women, but fuck that. Who cares? My dad had it. Like, I don't think they know. They just don't know. And they seem to have studied everything but the brain, which is why there's no cures for mental illness. There's no cures for Alzheimer's and dementia. The brain is like the ocean. They really don't have any answers for it. And I'm sorry that's happening to his family. And I hope it doesn't happen to yours. But in case it does, get prepared. And you're going to want to sign up for the newsletter, but you're also going to want to grab this handbook. It's $20. I would have bought, I don't know how many copies if this kind of resource had been available, because all they tell you, and your friends who love you, they care about you, they're telling you, oh, there's resources, but they're not. What they have out here is somebody you can call who will give you another phone number to call. And then you'll get a whole bunch of people trying to tell you where to place your loved one. But here's the thing. They don't have any resources to help you pay for placing that person. Because when I hear resources, I think cash. Like, okay, you're going to give me some money, or you're going to help me, finance this or something. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much to it. And, I worry. I do worry, because I don't think people are remotely prepared for what's coming. And if we stay alive, you can be worried about everything else that they're telling you to worry about right now. But more than anything, you're going to look over, and a spouse or your brother or your sister or an aunt or your parents, somebody you love, is going to be talking gibberish and doing weird shit. And you're going to be like, wait. And some of it will be old age, and some of it will be dementia. And they haven't advanced any research, I don't think, because it's too profitable. There will be people who won't do it like me. Me and my mom, I was like, nah, we're just going to let your brain decay naturally. We're not going to go keep taking a bunch of MRIs every year so we can determine your brain is more damaged. We're not going to take this pill that clearly makes your memory worse. I'm going to change your diet, and we're going to ride it out. And that's what we did. Does everybody have the fortitude to do that? No. Would I do it that way again? I would get rich first. In my early years, I would be a mogul, and I would be able to throw money and get more help. But I loved keeping my mom at home, even though I had to move her out of her house, because she was just never going to be obedient in there. I mean, she wasn't going to stay off the steps. She wasn't going to stop opening the door to strangers. Like, she was so mean growing up. I'm like, what happened to that lady? Why are you bringing crackheads in the house? What is happening? So it's a journey. It's a lot. And I wrote a handbook. I'm doing a newsletter. An inordinate amount of episodes of this podcast is dedicated. An enormous amount of this podcast, an enormous amount of episodes of this podcast are dedicated to caregiving in real time. You can go back and hear the night I didn't get any sleep. You can go back and hear how I was feeling the next day. And I had to go to work, you know. And the days I didn't go into the office, I didn't record. And I had to change my podcast schedule for years because it just wasn't going to work. I was already working full time. There just wasn't time to make a podcast. And noise bothered her and annoyed her. So there was no way I was going to start our day off rough with me recording a podcast and her then, like, you know, going into demon mode first thing. So it goes in chapters and stages. And it's long and noticeable every year that there's something going on with their brain and their body. And yeah. If Michael Irvin is complaining, what are you going to do? And I'm not saying any of that to scare you. I'm saying get as many resources available as possible. Get as much help as possible. If somebody says they're going to come and, you know, they're your kids or your, like somebody you can trust says they're going to come and sit with your loved one for free, do it. Let them. Go for a walk. Go get some ice cream or something healthy. Do whatever makes your soul light up, because I didn't do enough of that early on because I just kept thinking it was going to stop. Like, I don't know. It's like that analogy I use about falling down the stairs. I've fallen down the stairs once, and every step I thought I was about to stop, but I just wasn't. And that's how I felt about this disease. I'm like, oh, it's going to get better. Oh, we'll plateau. Oh, well, but it doesn't. It's a steady, gradual decline. So get the handbook. I didn't put pictures. There's no emojis. It's well written, but it's 33 pages of solid info. You know, the first draft I did was 60 pages, but it was full of like pictures. And I was like, this is business. And that's the first book. And you're going to want to buy the next book that I write, because it's going to be more around the finances and the house and the deeds and all the stuff that you have to look for when it's your parent, because you haven't thought about that shit and they ain't trying to tell you. So be on the lookout. Your girl's activated. I'm motivated. And when this turns, and it will, I hope my name is one of the first in the space, because I have been wanting to help as many people as humanly possible. Because right now it's 55 million caregivers unpaid. That doesn't even include the paid ones. It's 55 million people taking care of loved ones, unpaid, in the shadows, unrecognized, and the shit is hard work. So there you have that. Last night, the Cowboys and the Eagles had a much more competitive game than I was expecting. For some odd reason, I'm beginning to think that I'm just going to hate football eventually. I don't like the fact that now Red Zone is going to have commercials when it's been without commercials for, 15 years? How much money does the NFL need? And I knew I was going to break up with it eventually over the business antics, because the way they treated St. Louis and the St. Louis Rams was criminal. And you know it was, because they had to pay $500 million. And this guy, I think his name is Jalen Carter. I don't know Philly that well, but for some reason, before the game starts, he spits on Dak Prescott. Like, why would you do that? The ref was standing right there, and he spits on him on TV. Like, this is a nationally televised game. It's the first game of the season. Why would you? What the hell could Dak Prescott have said to make you spit on him? It was just, so then the game, so he was the best defensive player. Their defense is totally different than last year. There are a lot of people who have moved on and signed higher, bigger contracts. People have retired. So this guy was supposed to be their best player, and he spits and gets himself ejected out the game before it even starts. And then someone else has a major injury, and they're not even out there. So it's like, what's happening? And it's like, did they do this on purpose so Dallas would have a chance? Because it was way more competitive than it should have been. You lose your star player and it's like a 24-20 game or something crazy. It was like, what? I don't know. I'm beginning to think so. Google Kawhi Leonard, Kawhi, and Steve Ballmer, and $28 million. Apparently, Steve Ballmer hired Kawhi Leonard to work a no-show job for an extra $28 million in his contract so they could fly underneath the rules of the NBA. And I'm like, is everything a fucking scam? Why don't people have any morals anymore? I mean, nobody wants to have riches more than me. Money is great, but money is just lube. It just makes your life easier. It lubricates things, gets it moving, you know? But it's not everything. And you still should have some morality and some character. Why would you think that you could just do whatever the fuck you want and, you know, throw the rules in everybody's faces? That's really what we're dealing with. When I talk about Nancy Pelosi and all these people who taken all this money in the stock market or from APAC, they just don't care. They don't have any morality. There's nothing they won't do to get money. That's what I'm saying. You know, why would Nancy Pelosi need the $200+ million she's made in the stock market since 2018? She's only one person. You know, you have a family, but do you really want to give your family evil energy money? Money you've made from ill-gotten gains? You know, look what it did to the Kennedys. All that Prohibition era money, that family has had a lot of tragedy. I think you can draw the line. And I think there has just been too much greed in the world, and there's definitely too much greed in the NFL. And I don't understand. You're the number one attention getter. You're the number one sport. Why would you mess it up? And then you've got people with these weird value systems that don't care. You know, Steve Ballmer, I think he founded Microsoft, or he was one of those big tech people early on. And it's like, I get that you have a lot of money, but why can't you follow the rules? You know, and I've seen poor people. I had a boss who we all know wasn't rich. We could tell that they hadn't really made the kind of money they thought they were going to make in the world. And I watched them. They didn't have two nickels to rub together basically against Steve Ballmer. And they were completely morally bankrupt. There are a lot of people who just don't have any values. They don't have any morality. They're not interested in doing the right thing. They're going to do the easy thing or whatever they feel like doing. And I think that's really the test of where we are right now. You think it's Democrat and Republican. They're slimy on both sides. You think it's black people need more rights. I've seen black people violate black people my whole life. If you're black, your first bully was a black person. These black politicians in some of these major metropolitan areas, they've done nothing to help their people. They coat their own pockets and they smile in your face and lie and move on. And you're, in the meantime, living in a death trap. You know, the streets are dangerous. They don't care. The streets are unpaved. They don't care. No one's picking up your garbage. All kinds of bullshit going on. And your older person is just smiling in your face. I'm working as hard as I can, everybody. Keep voting for me. Why should we keep voting for you? You should be fired. You know, I can think of 10 people right now who should just be fired. It's like, come on. Where are our values? And why won't we hold people accountable when we know somebody doing something dirty? We won't even say anything because that's snitching. That's bullshit. Stop being loyal to the wrong things. Stop being loyal to the wrong people. There's some horrible people out here. And they know they can count on you to have their back. Fuck that. That is bullshit. And it really makes me mad, as you can see. So, happy Friday. But I'm serious. Why are we so loyal to people who don't care about us? I think about that nationally, politically, but also like in relationships. You know, the number of people who are like, I ain't gonna snitch on him. Well, he would snitch on you. Somebody beating your ass within an inch of your life every weekend and you don't want to prosecute him? Why not? If you scratched him, he'd prosecute you. You know, we are loyal to the wrong thing. You need to be loyal to what's godly and what makes you feel good. If it makes you feel bad, then fuck it. Leave it where it is. And that's okay. You can steal that from me today as you make your way across the world. If something makes you unhappy and you're like, oh, yeah, fuck it. I'm leaving this right here. If you want to know what would Judy do, that's what I do all the time. If something makes me unhappy and it's messing with my energy and I just can't suffer it anymore. I don't have to be pleasant or likable anymore. I'm in my late 50s. Almost. So it's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm leaving this right here with you. And yeah, move on. Deliver us from evil every second. It's crazy out here. Have a great and amazing weekend. Be safe, be blessed, be prosperous. Go for a walk. Do this interval walking that I'm doing. You're going to look crazy, but you're going to feel better. Yeah, watch good movies. Football comes on tonight. I hope they don't do nothing stupid to make me doubt it, that think it's a scam there too. Take creatine. Look up creatine. It's really good for you and it's good for your brain. Be well.